Winnie was willing to bear the responsibility for what happened with Ella later on. Jeffrey continued to accuse her angrily. You say I was mean to you? Why did you pounce on me when I was drunk then? If I was so nasty, why did you seduce me? Winnie couldn't stand it anymore. She retaliated by saying, I was drunk out of my mind that night too. I couldn't even see your face. I had just broken up and was in a foul mood and decided to act willfully. I didn't know it was you. You have to believe me. Jeffrey was even angrier. You mean you would have slept with any other guy that night? Is that right? Good for you, Winnie. What if I wasn't the one you bumped into that night? Can you be reasonable? Winnie retaliated. Don't act as if you knew it was me that night. You didn't choose to sleep with me. You would have had a good time with another woman, I'm sure. You thought that it was Ella when you woke up, didn't you? Don't push all the blame on me. We did it so many times that night. How could you get wrong when you woke up in the morning? Don't you have any intuition at all? You can try getting drunk again. See if you can recognize the person you wake up next to, that stranger. See if you can tell the difference. Besides, I wasn't drunk on your face that night. You hit on me. Jeffrey said. All right, good for you. Winnie had felt guilty before, but now this exchange was making her angry. The joke's on me. I don't have a pretty enough face. I couldn't make a lasting impression on you. Is this the time to fight about this now? Jeffrey interrupted her through gritted teeth. We're talking about how you slept with me and ran away irresponsibly. Do you know how much hurt you caused me? Not only did you rob me of my first time, but I also had to endure Ella day and night after that incident. Every time I think about that encounter, I feel as if I ate spoiled food. You caused damage to my physical body, but more importantly, you caused pain to my mental well-being. You stole my seed as well, and you had a baby without my permission. You're scaring me to death. Why did it seem as though it was all her fault? It was my first time, okay? Not only did you have a good time, you get to be a dad for free. Don't you remember how mean and nasty you were to me back then? I couldn't believe that there was a man like you out there. I was so afraid you would finish me off or poison me to death with your foul mouth. Of course I ran. Okay. Why didn't you tell me after we started dating? Jeffrey wanted to dissect her brain and figure out what exactly she was thinking. You didn't tell me when you were pregnant either. I thought the child was Ben's. I was worried you would strip me and eat me alive if I told you then. Winnie stuttered. I wanted to tell you only after we were physically intimate with one another, but Ella sent me those photos. I thought you two had slept together. Jeffrey snickered. Huh, it was all because of you. Winnie, we're back in the same spot again. Winnie, you caused irreversible damage to my life. I will never let you off, Jeffrey said viciously. Winnie shuddered. Can you please be reasonable for a bit here? Wash yourself and wait for me. Jeffrey's voice was eerie. Winnie looked at her tiny room and felt chills run down her spine. Calm down a little. Can you at least wait until I finish my competition? Do you think I can calm down? Jeffrey bellowed. You dropped a bombshell on me. That I'm a father? If not for the fact I just went to the bathroom, I would have peed in my pants. If you don't want the child, I won't force you. Anyways, I was the one who decided to keep her. Winnie bit her lips in frustration. He was still so young, after all. It was understandable that he didn't want to be a father yet. Shut up! What are you saying? Jeffrey interrupted her rudely. I will never let my child grow up the way I did. I won't let her live with only one parent. That's why I told you the truth, and I'm trying to fix things. Jeffrey chortled. Are you saying that you're patching things up with me for the child's sake? If I were doing this for my baby's sake, I wouldn't have hidden things from you. Winnie was getting a headache now. I think you need some time to calm down. You said so yourself, that you're shell-shocked. How can I calm down? I need to see you right now. I'm gonna eat you alive. I'm not gonna let you get out of bed for at least 3 days and 3 nights. Jeffrey pronounced each word deliberately and slowly. He always thought that they hadn't done it before and that their first time was going to be special and treasured. Now he knew he was a complete fool. How could he hold himself back? He should have eaten her alive long before this. Winnie was trembling now. I have something on. I'm gonna hang up first. Where's my child? Tell me! Jeffrey yelled into the receiver. I told you that I would bring you to see her over the new year. Winnie quickly interrupted and hung up. When she put down her phone, she called Bob when she thought about Jeffrey. I think I need to move out and stay somewhere else. Don't tell anyone where I'm staying. Not even Jeffrey. Yeah, I did something. He might be mad. If you don't want me to perform badly for the competition, you have to keep your lips sealed. Winnie quickly packed up her things after talking to Bob. She had to evacuate the place within 2 hours as fast as possible. Jeffrey was standing in school along the tree-shaded pavement. He was still in complete shock. Although he was raving mad just a few minutes ago, now that he had regained his composure, he felt as if he was living in a dream. Winnie was the woman that night, and she gave birth to their child? Why did it seem like a fantasy ending to their story? It was perfect. Just then, Austin walked by and found him standing there, frozen and daydreaming. It had started to drizzle, and he quickly ran over to him with an umbrella. What are you thinking? It's raining. Jeffrey looked at him for a split second and pinched his arm hard. Austin squealed in pain. He couldn't even hold the umbrella properly. Jeffrey, you can't intimidate me like this just because you've become a famous director. Does it hurt? Jeffrey asked. Of course it does. Try it on yourself if you don't believe me, Austin said through gritted teeth. So? I'm not dreaming after all. Jeffrey burst into laughter. He was elated. He bent forward so that raindrops fell on his face. Austin thought he looked like a raving lunatic. Do you want to go to the hospital to get it checked out? I'm leaving. Jeffrey grabbed the umbrella as he turned to walk away with his hands in his pockets. Austin took a moment to react. Hey, can you give me my umbrella back at least? Fuck. What rotten luck he had to know someone so dreadful. At the villa. April wasn't recording in the studio today. Instead, she was resting at home with Little Apple. Little Apple was doing terrific, as he was already walking and he could already say, Mama, Dada. April's heart melted each time he said that. When she was playing on the swing with Little Apple, Jeffrey suddenly sped into the driveway in his sports car. Little Apple stared at him with his big, round eyes. He didn't approach him to ask for any hugs. He knew from experience that his father and his uncle would often reject his advances and requests for hugs, especially his uncle. He looked as if Little Apple had offended him in some way. He must have peed on him a lot when he was younger. As for his father, Mama would tell him that he was just jealous of his pretty little face. Although he agreed with the fact that his father's face was nowhere near as adorable as his, he was his dad after all. Don't you have classes at this time? What are you doing here? April looked at him with surprise. Her brother had never been over at this time of day. I thought I wanted to see Little Apple. Jeffrey suddenly smiled at Little Apple. Little Apple was scratching the back of his head now. Uncle, Little Apple is not that close to you, he thought. Jeffrey swallowed, but he lifted Little Apple out of the swing anyway. Let Uncle have a good look at how adorable our Little Apple is. Back when Winnie was pregnant, he would be reminded of her betrayal every time he saw little children. He wasn't keen on playing with Little Apple, but now all he wanted to do was be good with kids. He wanted to know more about children and how their minds worked. Little Apple was stunned as Jeffrey flashed a bright, beautiful smile at him. He looked over at April and said, Mama, has Uncle gone mad? April. Her son was verbalizing her thoughts exactly. No wonder Little Apple thought his uncle was going mad. Jeffrey had never been good with children in the past. She had thought that it was because of his upbringing and his childhood experiences, so she never blamed him for anything. She didn't expect him to drop by like this suddenly and change his stance 180 degrees. Jeffrey, did something happen to you? You can talk to your sister, you know. Nope, nothing happened. I just thought that I shouldn't be as averse to children as I was in the past. They are little angels. Most adorable little sweethearts in this world. Jeffrey was staring at Little Apple and grinning like a fool. His own daughter must be as adorable as Little Apple. No, even more so. After all, he had a little girl. She must take after the best parts of Winnie and himself. April was feeling a little nauseous from what he just proclaimed. It was weird to hear such things from Aaron and her brother.
Uncle, you're scaring me a little.
Little Apple was blinking his big round eyes.
Are you my real uncle?
It's me, your real uncle. Jeffrey hugged him tightly and planted a kiss on his fat cheek. Little Apple shuddered and looked at April.
Mama, I'm scared.
April swallowed. Little Apple said,
Mama, didn't you tell me that people don't treat you well out of the blue for no reason? Is he jealous of my cute, pretty face?
What nonsense are you saying? I'm not your father. Jeffrey chuckled softly and put Little Apple back into the swing. Little Apple, Uncle's leaving now. I'll drop by again to see you some other time. After he drove off in his sports car, April was trying not to laugh. Why on earth did he come over? After he drove out of the villa, Jeffrey rolled his car to a stop along the road. He went into Joshua's account and unblocked all of his status updates. Before, he didn't understand why Joshua would ask him to pay more attention to his status updates and send articles on parenting to him. He finally understood his intentions now. He didn't do it out of the blue. He had his best interests at heart. Joshua was dropping hints for him all along. How did he only realize that now? How many opportunities did he miss to find out the truth? His hands were shaking now. He wondered what his daughter looked like. When he unblocked Joshua, tons of photos spilled out in front of his eyes. Joshua posted many photos of him and Jenny. The little baby in the photos was wearing a baby pink onesie and an orange knitted bear hat. Her eyes were watery and big. She had long lashes, rosy cheeks, and fair skin. She had the most adorable smile in the entire world. This was his daughter? Jenny resembled Jeffrey in some ways. He scrolled through more photos to when it was summertime. The little baby was wearing a t-shirt with cute shorts, lying on a rattan mat. She was sucking her thumb and looked like an adorable little piggy as she took her afternoon nap. This didn't look like Ben's daughter at all. How could Ben ever have a daughter this perfect? Jeffrey was feeling a little torn. He was honestly shocked when he found out that he had become a dad out of the blue. He was raised by a single mom and he never looked forward to having children of his own. He was still in college as well. He never expected himself to become a dad at such a young age. He thought that he would be at least in his 30s or 40s before he would become a father, but he wasn't repelled by the idea, especially not by a baby girl. He would love to shower her with love and affection. His precious little baby. It was too bad he missed the journey when she was born. It was all that bitch's fault. Ella. No wonder she ran away. Regardless, he would find a way to take his revenge even if she ran to every corner of the world. After looking through all the photos of his daughter, Jeffrey sent a message to Joshua. Joshy, it's been a while since we talked. I'm coming to settle some business. Is it okay if I take you out to eat some good food? After about 3 minutes, a reply came in saying,
Who are you?
Jeffrey replied, ? Ultra handsome Joshua replied, I am Joshy's mother. Jeffrey trembled slightly. He was talking to his future mother-in-law then. He wasn't prepared at all and was at a loss for what to say. She would be horrified if he just dropped the bomb and told her that he was the father of Winnie's child. She might even scold him to death. Ultra handsome Joshy. Although I don't know who you are, you sound like a con man judging from what you just sent me. I don't even know you, but I am Joshua's mother. I won't let you near my child. I'm warning you, stay away from us. My child is young and innocent. Don't bother him again. Jeffrey was speechless. Who could ever fool Joshua? He was bright and a sharp little thing. He paused before explaining himself, saying, Auntie, I am Winnie's friend. I'm not a con man. I'll drop by and visit you sometime. ultra-handsome Joshy. You were trying to use my son to court my daughter? You're really using all sorts of unscrupulous methods. Are you an anti-fan or some rich pursuer? I'm warning you. Stay away from both my son and daughter or else I'm going to call the police. Jeffrey replied, saying, No, Auntie, there must be some misunderstanding. But he could no longer send any more messages to her as she had blocked him and removed him from her friend list. He wanted to ask for their address so he could visit them. He wanted to drop by and thank her for all that she had done to raise his daughter. Just like that, he was blocked from the account. He didn't even get to save a single photo of his daughter. Jeffrey was about to break down. He quickly added him as a friend again, but his request was ignored. He decided to drive straight to the airport. He was going to fly to find Winnie. He was going to trap her in bed for 3 days and 3 nights. There was no way he was going to let her off this time, not even for her competition. At Pearl's house, Pearl walked across the yard to the nursery room and said to her son who was piecing a puzzle, Look at you! How could you add random strangers online? There's someone called Jeff that's trying to add you again even after I deleted him. He's relentless. The anti-fans are getting out of hand nowadays. Thank goodness I discovered it, or you might have been swindled and not even know it.
Jeff?
Joshua looked up and blinked his eyes. Yeah, you should pay more attention in the future. Pearl looked at him warningly. You're not allowed to add him again. All right. Joshua was feeling gleeful. His sister had called him not long ago telling him that Jeff had found out about Jenny. She had asked him to keep their house address a secret from him. Jeff was probably trying to get some news or information from him. Hee. Too bad for him that Pearl was strict about screen time on the phone. This situation made him very pleased indeed. He gave Jeffrey a chance to get to know him better in the past. Too bad he chose to block him online. Now it was too late. Joshua hummed a little tune as he continued putting his puzzle together. At night, Jeffrey rushed over to find Winnie. An unfamiliar middle-aged woman greeted him when he knocked furiously on the door of Winnie's apartment. Who are you? Where's Winnie? Jeffrey barged into the apartment only to find that none of Winnie's belongings were there anymore. Are you crazy? The middle-aged woman scolded him, saying, Who's Winnie? I live here alone. You need to leave before I call the police. Jeffrey frowned as he scanned the flat. He figured out what had happened and asked, Are you the tenant that just moved in here today? Duh, I just moved in here an hour ago. I'm sorry to bother you. Jeffrey walked out of the apartment angrily and called Winnie. He was furious and he spoke with a menacing tone, saying, You moved out? Chills ran down her spine when she heard his voice. You really came over? Winnie, did you think I was joking when I warned you just now? Jeffrey was clenching his teeth. I thought I asked you to take a shower, get clean, and wait for me. Winnie replied to him softly, saying, You're so worked up now. Of course I had to hide from you. Did you think that I was just going to wait for you to give it to me? I was planning to tell you everything when we met for New Year. I was going to bring you to see Jenny. I didn't expect to break the news to you like this or this early. I don't want this to affect the competition. Do you think I won't be able to find you? Jeffrey said coldly. Great, go on and hide. Let's see how long it takes for me to find you. Anyway, you'll inevitably be trapped in bed for 3 days and 3 nights. At the end of the day, why did it sound as if it was all her fault? Whatever. He was allowed to say whatever he wanted. She just didn't want him to bother her at this moment. Gee, he really thought that he could step all over her just because she hadn't lost her temper yet. Winnie was upset too. Don't sound too cocky. I remember when we spent one night together, you were so tired that you were completely knocked out. You were still asleep when I woke up the next day. I wouldn't have been able to sneak away if your stamina was a little better. Ella would have never gotten the chance to get between us. Don't talk about 3 days and 3 nights. I think it would be remarkable if you could last 1 whole day. You should amp up your tonics before you come over. Of course, don't overdo it. She then hung up. Jeffrey was shaking from anger. What did she just say? Was she looking down on him? All right, She was getting more and more arrogant. Good. He would make sure that she wouldn't be climbing out of bed for 4 days and 4 nights. He would prove himself. He would go to the ends of the earth to find her. There was no way she could hide from him. When the call ended, Winnie was shocked by what she had just said over the phone. What on earth did she say to him? She was almost regretting her conversation and wished that she could retract her statement. She knew Jeffrey well enough to know that he would never let her off the hook. She was bound to be punished for her words. It was just a matter of delaying her reckoning now. Winnie washed her face with some cold water and thought about the situation that she was in. She comforted herself with the hope that he would eventually tire himself out. What else could he do if she decided to lie still? Although that was what she was telling herself. She was still intimidated by Jeffrey. Over the next few days, she was so anxious that it affected her performance at work. It was difficult for her to concentrate on her music. Finally, the producer asked worryingly, Winnie, what's been going on lately? I've got the feeling that your heart is not really here with us. You'll be in danger tomorrow if you're like this in the competition. Perhaps I've just been too stressed out. Winnie nodded her head. It was Friday, and Winnie rushed to the television station for the competition. When she arrived in the studio, she looked around anxiously. She had been hiding over the past few days from Jeffrey, but it wouldn't be hard for him to catch her here at the studio. After all, he did start a fight here and left unscathed. In the resting lounge, she leaned back and quietly thought about her performance when someone knocked on the door. She jumped like a frightened rabbit and got to her feet. When Bob walked over to open the door, it was the television station crew members bringing them supper. Miss, our director ordered this for you. Thank you so much. Bob took over the bags of food and looked over at Winnie with a bemused expression. What's the matter? Are you that afraid of Mr. Jeffrey showing up? Winnie forced a smile and said, Well, just lock the door before the competition starts. I'm not going to see anyone, no matter who is asking for me. Bob was speechless. At 7:30 p.m., Winnie put on her mic as she got ready for her performance. She was the first one up that day, and because of her little situation with Jeffrey over the past week, she hadn't been able to perform to her best potential. When she finished her performance, she knew that she didn't do as well as before. When she returned to her lounge, feelings of stress enveloped her. Bob comforted her, saying, Don't think too much about it. You were great out there. Winnie shook her head. I already knew when I was rehearsing. Everyone put their 101% this time, but I wasn't able to focus on my music. I'm not going to score a good rank this time around. There's nothing shameful about losing this round today. After all, you've come such a long way. Bob smiled. It won't be a bad thing to get eliminated today. After all, New Year's coming up. You can finally take a break after this and see your parents. All of a sudden, Winnie thought about Jenny. It had been a while since she last saw her, and she would always end up in tears whenever she video called her little darling. Yeah. It was about an hour until the voting segment. Winnie grabbed a quick bite and sat on the couch listening to the music. Bob had to go somewhere else to settle some things with the director. Before long, the door creaked open and Winnie looked up. What did the director say? I'm not sure what the director asked him to do, but I don't think he'll be returning soon. Jeffrey locked the door behind him and leaned against the doorframe with an elegant smile on his face. Winnie's head went blank. Winnie never thought that Jeffrey's glamorous, bright face could look so intimidating and creepy. Are you so happy to see me that you're at a loss for words? Jeffrey took off his coat and threw it over the chair beside him. Winnie covered her chest with her arms instinctively and glared at him with a worried look on her face. What are you doing? Jeffrey halted in his footsteps and looked around. His gleaming black pupils looked mischievous. Why? Did you think that I was going to eat you alive right here? Wasn't that what he was planning to do then? Why else was he undressing? Winnie, you're so horny. Jeffrey walked over to her and stared into her eyes as he bent down slightly. His voice sounded dangerously tense. No wonder you'd throw yourself at me and seduce me. No wonder you could wake up the next day and pretend like nothing ever happened. No wonder you could boast about having better stamina than me. Don't you know where we're at right now? We're in the lounge of a television station. People are walking in the corridors outside. You have to get on stage later, too. Winnie breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness he had not lost his mind yet. He was still being reasonable. Since you know all of that already. But since you're thinking about it already, I have no choice but to oblige. Jeffrey slowly removed his sweater. His hair was tousled and a little messy. He still looked as handsome as ever, and Winnie caught a glimpse of his bronzed abs when he lifted the sweater above him. She was blushing now. She couldn't believe her ears. Don't worry, I'll try to finish quickly before you go on stage. Don't be so tense. After all, it's not our first time together, right? Jeffrey looked at her with intention as he slowly unbuttoned his shirt. The atmosphere was thick with intensity. Calm down, will you? Winnie's legs were trembling a little. She was wearing a dress and she had makeup on. How was she going to go back on stage later? She would die of embarrassment. She wouldn't dare come back to the television station again. We're out in public now. Can we talk when we go back later? She ran to the door, but Jeffrey grabbed her from behind before she could get far. Now you're intimidated. Jeffrey pressed his head against her ear from behind. Where did your confidence go? I thought you said that my stamina was too poor. Winnie, did you know that you can never say such a thing to a man? What should I say about you? You're bold enough to run away after sleeping with me and to hide after insulting me. And now that I'm here, you're timid like a mouse? I thought you asked me to drink a tonic before coming. Let me tell you that I ate an entire ox before I came here. Winnie's ears were ticklish and she was about to implode. I wouldn't have run away if you hadn't been threatening me every day. Stop saying that I seduced you or something. I did initiate the kiss, but you lost control after that as well. Jeffrey, don't put all the responsibility on me. You had a good time too. I don't think you've got much self-control either. Even if it was Ella that night, I'm sure she could have gotten you in bed as well. Impossible. Jeffrey tightened his lips, interrupting her. Why not? You can't be sure of that, Winnie said grumpily. Jeffrey was silent for a while before replying. You're a better kisser than anyone else. She felt a little speechless. She couldn't believe that anyone would compliment her on her subpar kissing techniques. After a brief silence, she finally managed to sputter. Who else have you kissed? Jeffrey said nothing. Is it Ella? Winnie felt less guilty all of a sudden as she pouted in a disgruntled manner. Or are there other women that I'm not aware of? Jeffrey was at a loss for words. He didn't think too much before saying that, and he certainly didn't expect this woman to read too much into it. As a man, to protect his pride, there was no way he was going to let her know that she was his first kiss ever. He awkwardly tried to change the subject. I should be questioning you instead. Who did you hone those superb skills with? Ben? Superb skills? Winnie rolled her eyes at him. Do you really think that I'm that great of a kisser? Cross your heart and swear by it. Cross your heart and swear that you didn't pick up your skills from Ben then, Jeffrey grunted coldly. When you kiss me, it's as if someone had intoxicated me. I went all week and I lost control of all my senses. You might as well say that I poisoned you with my lips, Winnie said grumpily. Stop bringing Ben into this. You knew that I had dated him before. You, on the other hand, have never told me that you dated other girls before. Are you hiding something from me? I never knew that you were so experienced in kissing girls. Anyway, I seriously doubt that that was the first time when we slept together. Do you have any proof to back yourself up? I bled that night. How are you going to prove your innocence? Jeffrey was frowning deeply now. He realized that Winnie was getting better and better at bickering with him. She had dug a hole for him, and there was no escape now. Winnie, you're being unreasonable. Then show me some evidence, Winnie replied. Evidence that you lost your virginity to me. How am I supposed to do that? Jeffrey stared at the woman in front of him with frustration. It was usually the other way around, the man asking the lady to prove her chastity. He was the one in a pickle now. Men won't bleed. Winnie nearly burst out laughing as she watched him struggle with his words. She knew she was driving him crazy. She managed to hold her laughter back and pretended like she was unfazed by what he was saying. The two of them were at a standoff for a while before Jeffrey finally admitted weakly, "All right, actually, that night, you were my first kiss ever." He continued to stare at her begrudgingly. "I gave you my first kiss and my first night, but you wouldn't trust me and you cheapened all of it. Do you know why I'm angry? Because this is not just emotional hurt. It's physical as well. If you ask me why I said that you're a good kisser, it's because I've only ever been kissed by you. And I've never experienced anything quite like it before. Of course I think that you're a great kisser. Are you happy with my answer now?" An awkward silence filled the air. Winnie felt bad. Anyone else would be upset too. That was really irresponsible of her. "Yeah, don't get too worked up. I'm sorry. It's my bad, really. I was just a little jealous earlier." "I should be the one getting jealous," said Jeffrey as he bit on her ears gently. "I'm sorry." Winnie felt her heart go warm and fuzzy, and she buried herself into his chest. "Jeffrey, let's be happy together from now on, shall we? We've been through so much because of Ella's trickery. Her lies really made things so much more difficult than it has to be. Am I right?" "Okay." Jeffrey nodded his head seriously as he held Winnie's petite body tightly in his arms. Half a minute later, he suddenly came to realize, "Wait a minute, Winnie, I remember coming here to make you regret what you said." "Really? Are you still bent on that?" Winnie looked up at him with her clear, dark pupils, her eyes as pure as the lakes in the mountains. "Don't you feel as if someone had just lifted the fog from our eyes? To be honest, although I already patched things up with you before, I was still mindful of what happened between Ella and you. You were also hesitant about the fact that I had a child with another man, weren't you? Now that we know it was all a misunderstanding, I know that you've always loved me, and I've always loved you back. When you told me about what happened and I learned the truth, I was on cloud 9. Don't you feel the same way?" Jeffrey's jaw dropped. Of course he did. He was more elated than anyone else. But when she decided to hide from him, his frustration took precedence over his joy and excitement. Now, after hearing her thoughts, Jeffrey felt relieved and content. Thank goodness it was Winnie that night. Who knew that they already had such an affinity for each other after a long time ago? He was so foolish. The woman he had slept with was in front of him all along, but he never realized. "Do you love me? Do you really love me?" Jeffrey asked with hesitation. "I've loved you for a long time now." Winnie lowered her head and buried her face in his chest. Jeffrey was smiling now and gave her a gentle peck on her forehead before bending down to find her lips. After kissing for a while, Bob's voice called out from outside. "Winnie, why did you lock the door? You're going to be up on stage soon." Your lips parted and Winnie panted. "All right, I'm coming out." She put on some lipstick before she went to unlock the door. Bob's eyes nearly popped out when he saw Jeffrey standing inside. His first instinct was to look at Winnie's clothes. They were still intact, with no signs of struggle. They were good to go. Good. Jeffrey noticed his expression and he smirked. "Your assistant's as perverted as you." Winnie was embarrassed and Bob felt awkward. "Well, I was just worried that you wouldn't be able to control yourself." "All right, go ahead." Jeffrey sat down on the couch with his legs crossed. He wasn't feeling as riled up now. Winnie had just confessed her feelings for him after all. "I'll be back later." Winnie smiled at him before leaving. She didn't do well this round. Her ranking wasn't ideal. She was voted number 7, just one rank above the bottom spot. Many people were shocked and surprised at the results, but not Winnie. When they finished up on stage, a younger singer came up to her and gave her some words of encouragement. "Don't worry about it. There are always ups and downs in a competition. I think we all put in 100% this time, but you only showed us 60% of your potential." "It's too stressful," Winnie grimaced. I don't know how much longer I can last. Her old senior laughed. Ha ha ha. How will the rest of us feel if you find it stressful as well? You've been doing so well before this, at least in the top 3 every week. Winnie gave him a polite smile. The group walked over to the lounge together. Leaning against Winnie's door was a tall and handsome man. Jeffrey had his hands in his pocket, and he looked at them with his head slightly cocked to one side. His jawline was prominent, and his Adam's apple looked sexy with the buttons of his shirt undone at the top. He looked dashing and charismatic. One of the female singers whispered, "If I'm not mistaken, that guy looks like the popular young director Jeffrey, that young genius director." "Winnie, you two know each other, don't you? I remember he tweeted something about bullying you often." Winnie's heart was thumping loudly. What was he doing? Everyone thought she was single, without a boyfriend. "Yeah, we do know each other." Before Winnie could finish, Jeffrey had already started making his way over to them. He stood in front of Winnie and stroked her hair. "Although your ranking is low this time, you just have to work a little harder next week. Don't be too disappointed, baby." Winnie was speechless. Winnie's head went blank all of a sudden, like a computer screen that had just hanged. What was he doing in front of so many people? Did he want everyone else to know about the two of them? Everyone else gasped. "What?" Jeffrey was grinning now, and he was looking at the young singer up and down. He noticed how close he was walking with Winnie, and he had seen the two of them chatting all the way toward the lounge. "Let's go, Winnie." Jeffrey pulled her into the lounge. Winnie glared at him. "Who gave you permission to just drop the bomb on everyone like this?" "They won't dare let the cat out of the bag. After all, they know who I am," Jeffrey said lazily. "Why do you want to hide me in our relationship?" Winnie looked at him, baffled by what he had just said. "Can you have a little bit more faith in me? Are you going to get jealous of anyone that is decent looking?" She was a little annoyed. Jeffrey was stunned, then said, "Why are you getting so worked up? I should be the one feeling uncomfortable. Don't you remember the insults that you hurled at me in the past? You told me that I was dirty and cheap, and you asked me to strip in front of you so you could do a body check?" Tears were welling up in her eyes. "Some things can't be forgotten so easily. I've never been more humiliated in my entire life." "Well, It was because you spent the night with Ben." Jeffrey's heart softened watching her on the verge of tears. He panicked and quickly said, "All right, it was all my fault. I cared too much about you. I was just being a little jealous earlier on as well. I don't believe that you would have had anything to do with that man. He is nowhere near as talented or handsome as I am. You will have to be blind to choose him over me." Winnie was nearly crying and laughing at the same time. Jeffrey wrapped his arms around her tightly and rested his chin on her head. "I'm just worried that other men might fancy you too. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever laid my eyes on, but I know that you only like me. Otherwise, you wouldn't bear me a child." Winnie was a little embarrassed now. She held back her tears. "Let's go back then. After all, we're in public." Jeffrey nodded his head and started putting on his sweater. "Let's go back. But you still owe me 4 days and 4 nights. Winnie felt chills run down her spine. She thought she heard him wrong. 4 days and 4 nights? Yeah, too short for your liking? Jeffrey raised his brows as he teased her jovially. Winnie really wanted to tease him back and ask if he would be able to handle 4 days and 4 nights. Did he really think he was an emperor? Could he really handle such an opulent, corrupt lifestyle? She decided against aggravating him. They could go back later and discuss the matter further. Jeffrey arrived at her apartment, which was about 20 minutes away from the recording studio. The apartment had 2 decent-sized bedrooms. "Now, back to your new environment." Jeffrey inspected the area. "No wonder I couldn't find you anywhere. You aren't staying in a hotel." Yeah, Winnie looked at him after pouring herself a glass of water. Jeffrey, let me show you some photos of our daughter. Jeffrey was energized at her suggestion and scooted over to where she was sitting on the couch. He looked at the photos on her phone. She had pages of Jenny's photos from where she was just born, pictures when she was crying, pictures when she was laughing, and photos of her swimming. These are the photos that my mother took of her when she celebrated her 100-day-old birthday. I was busy then, and I didn't have time to accompany her, Winnie said sadly. I'm not a good mother. Jeffrey hugged her as he tried to comfort her. I know you're working so hard so you can provide for our baby girl. Winnie, you don't have to work so hard from now on. I can handle all of your expenses. I don't have much, but I have money and resources. Winnie burst into giggles as she turned to look at him. Aren't you being a little too humble? I bet you had a lot of girls hot on your tail over these past 6 months. Director Jeffrey only wants a woman called Winnie. Jeffrey lifted her and put her on his lap as he gazed into her eyes lovingly. Can you feel it? How could she not feel what was beneath her butt? Winnie felt like a roasted fish on a hot grill. There was a fire burning beneath her. She was hot all over, but at the same time, anxious. The only time they did it was when they were both wasted and she was uninhibited. Now that they were both sober, she was a little nervous. Jeffrey, do you know our daughter's name? Winnie tried to change the topic. I know you mentioned Jenny. Jeffrey raised his chin. It's a pretty name. But if we're going to change her name, she will be called Jenny Diaz, Winnie said with amusement and watched his reaction. It doesn't matter. She can have your last name, answered Jeffrey in a split second. Winnie blinked in disbelief. She couldn't believe that he had agreed to it so easily. Most men out there would insist that their children take their last names. Anyway, this won't be our only child, right? Jeffrey inched toward her slowly with a mischievous look on his handsome face. He had managed to trap Winnie between the coffee table and himself. Winnie was burning hot all over as she looked into his intense gaze. You mean you want more kids? Not necessarily. It doesn't matter to me. One's good enough, but I'd be happy to have more children. I can afford it anyway. Jeffrey sounded relaxed and confident. It depends on you. We're still young after all. You might want another few years down the road. Who says that I want to have your children? Winnie was embarrassed by the conversation that they were having. They weren't even married yet, and there they were talking about the prospect of having a second child. She reached out to cover his mouth, and she looked down bashfully. Jeffrey grinned, and in one swift motion scooped her up and walked towards the bedroom. Winnie was shocked. She was frozen stiff. Are you a frozen fish? Jeffrey teased her after putting her on the bed gently. Where did all your bravado go from that night when you pounced on me? Winnie was embarrassed. He knew that it would make her flustered. Well, I was drunk that night. Jeffrey, let's talk about this. Hold up. Jeffrey was on top of her and propped himself up on his hands. Winnie, there's no way I'm letting you off easy tonight. I've waited too long for this, and I've had a hard time finding you. You were way too harsh and hurtful over the phone the last time, and you hurt my pride. I swore that I was going to prove myself to you. All right. Winnie nodded her head. She had no choice but to submit to him. I think we can talk about the duration a little more. It doesn't have to be 4 days and 4 nights, right? Look, I was ranked 7th this round. I have to work hard for the competition, or else I'll be eliminated for sure. Winnie? Jeffrey looked at her intently. Under those circumstances, you blurted that out without even thinking twice. It goes to show that you don't think much of my stamina at all, so I have to prove myself to you. I think it's okay if you don't win this competition. You have to take responsibility for your words. I'm telling you, there's no escaping 4 days and 4 nights. Winnie was silent. She regretted her words. She wanted to bite her tongue off. She practically dug a hole for herself. All right, let's compromise. I'll make it up to you after the competition, 4 days and 4 nights. You know what? I'll throw in another day as a bonus. You want to spend 5 days and 5 nights together? Jeffrey tried to control his composure. For some reason, his legs went a little shaky. Yeah, what do you think? You must be thrilled. Winnie blinked her eyes innocently. Jeffrey kept quiet. He didn't realize how wild Winnie was. Was she finally liberated? 4 days and 4 nights might be his limit. 5 days? He might end up paralyzed after that. Why aren't you saying anything? Winnie asked innocently. 1 day extra is too little for you? Do you want more? Make it 6? Jeffrey was at a loss for what to say. No, I'm just worried that your body might not be able to handle it. Are you sure you want to be so intense? I don't want to either, Winnie sighed helplessly. But when I think about it, 4 and 6 days are almost the same. Jeffrey froze. How could it be the same? There was a major difference. I think we should just do it today. Get it over and done with. Spontaneity, right? Jeffrey, are you intimidated? Winnie poked his chest as she laughed. Are you worried that you won't be able to last 6 days? Is that the reason for your hesitance? Who says? Jeffrey widened his eyes indignantly. Oh, really? Winnie had a skeptical expression on her face. With his pride on the line, Jeffrey had to promise her in the end, saying, Since you offered, I'll compromise. But we don't have to do it for 6 days. I'm concerned about your body. Jeffrey, you're the best. Winnie wrapped her hands around his neck and kissed him. Jeffrey was extremely frazzled. He didn't know how hardcore Winnie was. Did he release the beast within her? No, he better not say anything so hasty in the future. He decided he would never bring up 5 or 6 days in the future. If he was held against his words, he might not survive the ordeal. If he was being honest, he might not even last 4 days. He had never practiced other than that night they spent together. Jeffrey, you're not focusing. Winnie saw his perplexed expression through her half-closed eyes. She tried hard not to giggle as she held his handsome face in her hands. No, Jeffrey collected his thoughts. No matter what, he had waited for this moment for a long time. Winnie? Jeffrey mumbled under his breath before he planted a passionate kiss on her lips. God knows how long Jeffrey had waited for this moment. He had always held himself back, thinking that it was Winnie's first time. He didn't want to be hasty, and he wanted to cherish their first time together. He only just realized that it was her all along by his side, even on that dreadful night that he didn't wish to remember. He was not only attracted to her personality, but he was also smitten with her body long ago. He wasn't an easy guy that was easily seduced by any random stranger. All of this happened because it was Winnie that night. At that moment, he was thinking about what happened that night, and he was re-experiencing her smell, her moans, and her fingers. Winnie was almost paralyzed by the intensity of his kiss. Jeffrey was even more passionate and wild than the night they had spent together. He then tore her clothes off of her. When he tried to remove his shirt, he popped the buttons off violently. In their moment of passion, Winnie said hazily, Right, there are no condoms at. I thought you loved collecting those things. Don't you have some at home? Jeffrey asked between his urgent pants. Winnie was blushing, and she bit her lip without answering him. Jeffrey chuckled lowly, and he picked up his pants from the floor and retrieved several boxes of condoms. Silly bean, I'm well prepared. Don't worry, I won't impregnate you without your permission again. Jeffrey, Winnie was deeply touched by his words. Be good. Don't you want to be on top or at the bottom? You can take your pick. Jeffrey's voice was sexy and seductive. She didn't know how to reply to him. I'm taking it as you want it both ways if you're not going to say anything. Jeffrey lowered his head and kissed her lips. Winnie widened her eyes. Jeffrey had plastered his lips tightly against hers now. There was no way for her to protest. Jeffrey was going all out that night. He was wild and passionate. That first night together, she was heavily intoxicated and the images were blurry. Tonight, she would remember everything clearly. Winnie's toes curled up and she was feeling shy. Her skin was glowing with a slightly pink hue. Jeffrey was lavishing her with hot kisses, trailing her skin. She couldn't help but moan with encouragement. Jeffrey focused on her expression. She was on the verge of losing control. They had been intimate in the past, but it was nothing compared to this. He was really missing out on so much. All those moments in the past were like the appetizers before the main dish. Jeffrey was determined to not let Winnie belittle his abilities. He was planning to make her beg, and he would prove his skills to her that night. Winnie's body was weak as he tortured her and kept her from her sweet release. No matter how much she complained about how tired she was, Jeffrey ignored her pleas and carried on. When her voice finally went hoarse, he began round 2. Winnie looked at how zealous he was and decided to let him do whatever he pleased. She knew he was trying to prove a point because of what she said earlier on. She would go all out with him then. She didn't have much to do anyway. She could just lie there and enjoy the process. It was a long haul, but she had plenty of stamina. She spent all her mornings and nights training and dancing. She was enjoying herself at the beginning, but when the hours dragged on, she couldn't take it anymore and fell asleep on the bed. Jeffrey was trying his hardest when he realized she had fallen asleep. He was so angry that he didn't know what to say. He tried to keep count, but he failed. His own memory was getting hazy, and he didn't know how many times they had done it. He was planning to hold the fortress till dawn and make her beg for him to stop. The woman lying in front of him was as stubborn as a mule, even though she looked demure and delicate. Apart from saying no the first few times, she didn't mention it again. If she had begged one more time, he would have gratefully spared her and himself. He was completely devastated now. Were his skills so lousy? "Winnie, wake up!" Jeffrey rubbed her cheeks urgently with frustration. She had makeup on before, and the two of them had jumped into bed without taking a shower first. In addition to the fact she had just cried, she looked like a giant panda now. "Be quiet," Winnie mumbled and swatted his hand away. "Go at it yourself." What did she mean by going at it himself? He was not a mule. Jeffrey was furious. He had no choice but to stop since she wasn't cooperating at all. He was getting tired as well. He decided he would wake up early the next morning and continue. The next day, sunlight streamed into the room and cast itself onto the wooden planks. Winnie was awakened by her alarm. She stirred from her sleep and opened her eyes to see a man lying next to her. He was sharing the same pillow and he was in a deep sleep. His features were perfect. He had plump lips and a defined jaw. He was frowning slightly at the sound of the alarm. Winnie was a little stunned to see him lying next to her. She struggled to grab a jacket and put it over herself and then dragged her sore body to sit up. She walked to the balcony and picked up her phone.
"Why are you still sleeping? It's so late."
Tara could tell that she had just woken.
"It's already 11 a.m.
"So late," Winnie muttered after a moment. She thought that it was still 8 or 9 a.m. She remembered how she fell asleep the night before. She wondered when Jeff...
"Yeah. Did you lose sleep last night because of the competition results?" "It's all right. You just got to adjust your mood. However, the television station told me that it was going to be tough for you to win first place or even make it to a runner-up. There are only a few episodes left, so it's not a big deal if you get eliminated."
"I didn't expect anything more. It's all right," Winnie rubbed her temples.
"I know you want to go home and be with your child over the new year, so I tried my best to keep your schedule free,"
Tara said. "Thank you,
"Take it easy and don't get into any scandals, okay?"
Tara warned her before hanging up. Winnie looked at the man in her bedroom. She tiptoed over and wondered how many times he came the night before. There was a big pile of tissue paper beside the waste paper basket. There was a weird, musty smell in the room. She used a broom and swept the room briefly before she opened the windows. It was already 11:30 a.m. and she hadn't had any food yet. Her stomach was grumbling in protest. Although she was still tired and sleepy, She decided to put herself together and cook lunch with the ingredients in her fridge. As Jeffrey started stirring from his sleep, he caught the smell of delicious food wafting through the apartment. His stomach was growling as he opened his eyes and stretched his arms. The woman beside him was long gone. He sat up quickly, and his expression was dark. She had gotten up earlier than him again. Was she the one cooking in the kitchen right now? He put on some pants and walked over to the kitchen. At the doorway to the kitchen, he saw Winnie boiling soup with an apron around her. The magnificent smell of lunch filled the place, and he started drooling at the thought of tasting her food again after so long. At the same time, he was shocked at the amount of energy she had. After all that went down the night before, he couldn't believe that she could still wake up and cook for them. Jeffrey's face was dark as he stood behind her. "Winnie, are you even a woman?" Winnie was tasting the soup and deciding whether she should add more salt to her dish when he caught her by surprise. Her hands trembled as she spilled the soup in the ladle onto the countertop. She turned around in frustration to meet the gaze of Jeffrey. His expression was hard to read, but he looked handsome as always. "Can you not sneak up on me like that? You really scared me." Jeffrey was silent as he stared at her with his lips pursed. With her stamina, he would be the one who would die of exhaustion if they really did it for 4 days and 4 nights. Oh, right. She had told him to carry on without her the previous night. In her eyes, she might only see him as a stubborn mule. "Aren't you aching?" Jeffrey looked at her thighs. Winnie knew what he was referring to. She shook her head as her cheeks flushed. "Not really." Jeffrey was silent. She wasn't even sore from their intense exercise last night. There were no words to describe how he was feeling at that moment. Winnie tried to explain to him. "I do dance practices all the time. I learned all sorts of difficult dances before, and there was one time I practiced all day and night for an entire month to nail the routine. I had to do splits and leg raises, and it used to hurt a lot. It hurt so much that I couldn't walk properly. Now that I'm used to it, it's a piece of cake for me." "You're a singer. Why do you have to train so hard at dance?" "I have no choice. I have to record albums and do tours." After that, Winnie turned to plate the food. She made some fragrant, mouth-watering fried, spicy chicken, and Jeffrey looked at the dish with mixed feelings. Look at how strong she was. She could do all of that and then wake up to make spicy chicken. She had a petite frame and a gentle and delicate face. It was all hiding her immense power and strength. No wonder she could offer him an extra day. If he decided to play this game with her, he would most definitely burn out first. She would probably wake up the next day and make him porridge. "What's the matter?" Winnie chuckled with embarrassment when he continued to stare at her without saying a word. She was a little shy after having spent the night together. "Winnie, aren't you tired at all?" Jeffrey sighed softly. "I'm tired and sleepy, of course, but I'm hungry too. Plus, I thought you might be hungry." Winnie spoke softly at the end. Jeffrey could tell that she was being careful with her words, and he asked, "What do you mean? Do you think that I have weak stamina and I'd be tired and hungry when I woke up?" "No, that's not what I meant." Winnie could tell that he was getting upset, and she knew what he was upset over when she remembered what she had said to him a few days ago. She sighed and said, "I couldn't take it, and I was so tired last night that I fell asleep." "Of course you have good stamina. I'm really impressed by your performance." At the mention of this, Jeffrey was even more frustrated and said grumpily, "Is my technique really that bad that you were able to fall asleep?" Winnie ignored him and started rinsing a pan to fry some vegetables. "Winnie, make yourself clear now." Jeffrey chased after her and grabbed the pan from her. His pride was severely hurt. "Jeffrey, don't you think you're being a little dense?" Winnie looked up at him. She wasn't able to look him in the eye like after their intimate moment from the night before. She would blush every time she looked at him now. "Couldn't you tell last night?" Jeffrey was frowning and silent now. All he could think about was when she fell asleep. "It was so late and I was exhausted. Of course I fell asleep. I haven't been able to rest well for a week while in preparation for the competition. I was absolutely drained. I can't believe you're pushing me for answers now. I don't think it really matters what happened in the end, as long as the process. Isn't it good enough that we both had a good time? Winnie tossed him the spatula and said, I'm not cooking anymore. You can cook yourself. Jeffrey was stunned as he looked at the spatula before. He quickly turned and pulled her back into his arms. He nibbled on her ear and said, I remember now. Last night, you came quite a few times. Stop talking about it. Winnie punched him lightly before making her escape. Jeffrey laughed as she ran away before he turned to fry up some vegetables for them. They only had 2 dishes for lunch that day. They sat shoulder to shoulder, close to one another. Jeffrey would often look up to stare at Winnie as he was eating, making Winnie feel awkward. It's not the weekend yet. Don't you have classes today? Jeffrey was stunned. Now that you mention it, I haven't been to school for a while now, and I haven't applied for any leave. Winnie rolled her eyes at him. You're already in year 3. Can you take school more seriously? What if your professor denies you your degree? When Jenny grows up, she won't be proud of her father who couldn't even complete his college education. Hey now! Jeffrey looked over at her coldly. Don't worry, I will most definitely graduate. If you can do it, I can do it. Hey now, Jeffrey looked over coldly. Don't worry, I'll most definitely graduate if even someone like you can. What do you mean by that? Come on. I had stellar results when I was in college. Winnie couldn't help but grumble. Jeffrey grinned. I was invited by your university to study there. I'm not your average student. Winnie said nothing. Be good. Eat up. Jeffrey put some food in her bowl. Let's get married next year when you're not busy. Winnie nearly choked on her food, spitting it all out on the table. Winnie, don't be gross, Jeffrey said as he wiped his face, which was speckled with food. Stop scaring me! Why would you say things like that without any warning? Winnie quickly gulped down a glass of water to calm herself. Why do you want to get married all of a sudden? We already have a child together. Of course we're getting married, Jeffrey said matter-of-factly. Firstly, I have to take responsibility for you and our child. Secondly, I truly love you. Besides, if we head over to your parents' place on New Year and break the news that I am Jenny's father, without any talk of marriage, your parents will think terribly of me. I'd be thankful enough if they don't beat me up and throw me out of the house. Although he only talked to her mother briefly, he already knew that her parents might be difficult to deal with, judging by how Joshua acted. Winnie was quiet. What he said made sense, especially her dad. He might skin Jeffrey alive. It's decided then. We shall get married next year. Jeffrey raised his eyebrows. I'll bring you to meet my family too. They will be thoroughly shocked. Winnie covered her face. She was too ashamed to see April. Oh, let's not be too hasty. I don't want our marriage to be built upon the fact that we have a child together. I want us to genuinely love each other and want to be with one another. I want us to be thoroughly compatible. We tick all the check boxes, Jeffrey said confidently. Do we? Winnie asked him. Jeffrey, I thought that we were compatible when we dated in the past, but when we started fighting, I came to realize that we don't know each other well enough. There's still a lot to learn and a lot of rough edges to smooth out. Especially your communication. You are too mean sometimes. I love you too much. That's why. Jeffrey frowned. You didn't tell me the truth that you were pregnant with my child. Of course, I was mad. I wanted to strangle you to death. When we met in Venice, I still hadn't moved on yet. If I really did, I would have acted indifferent towards you. How can I be sure that what you're saying is true? Let's just take things slow and see how it goes. We're both still young anyway. Winnie lowered her head and ate. Winnie, are you going to put on your clothes and act like you don't know me again? Jeffrey smirked. Well, I put on my clothes and made lunch for you, didn't I? Winnie put some chicken into his plate. What's the rush anyway? I'm yours already. Jeffrey was stunned. He was moved by what she had just said. She was right. Things are different now. She was his woman, his significant other now. After lunch, Jeffrey washed the dishes and carried her to bed to rest. Winnie, my baby, will you stay with me today and not go to the studio? Winnie looked up to meet his gentle, warm gaze. He was showing his puppy eyes now, and she thought about how scary it was that men could change so quickly. He was so mean to her just a while ago. I wasn't planning on going. I'll accompany you for 2 days. Jeffrey was thrilled. It was a happiness that came unexpectedly. He thought they only had 1 day together. 2 days, she said. What a treat! He asked her. Is it going to affect your competition? Winnie sighed. I've ranked 7th. I should spend some time adjusting my state of mind, and I need to take a break anyway. If I really end up losing, then so be it. Don't worry, you'll still have me even if you lose. Jeffrey pulled her close to his chest. I'm so bored. Shall we do something? Winnie fell silent. She wasn't sure what he was referring to until Jeffrey started kissing her and peeling her shirt off. She pushed against his arms and asked, Didn't we just do it last night? Yeah. I finally found something in this world that's tastier than food. Jeffrey's eyes were twinkling with excitement. Winnie was about to cry out loud. Why did she ever doubt his stamina? It was obvious that both his stamina and libido were shockingly impressive. She couldn't hold him back and gave up trying. She decided to relent and let him do as he pleased since it would be Christmas the next time they meet again. Thinking about Christmas Day, she was reminded that it was the day that they broke up. A year had gone by just like that. How dare you zone out? Jeffrey looked up as if someone had just doused a bucket of ice water on him. No, I'm just thinking about Christmas, Winnie quickly explained. Jeffrey frowned. I'm trying my best to please you here. Why are you thinking about Christmas? Winnie kept quiet. Winnie was nervous. It seemed as though she was being inconsiderate. Because we broke up on Christmas Day. Don't you remember? Jeffrey was silent. It was supposed to be a day filled with wonderful memories back then. In the end, it turned out to be one of his worst memories. It's okay. I will make it up to you this Christmas. It's going to be the day of our movie premiere as well. There will be a screening event. I'll make sure you receive the gift that I couldn't give you last year. Winnie was shocked. You prepared a gift for me last year? Of course. Jeffrey grunted softly. What was it? I'm not telling you. Winnie sighed. Actually, I prepared a gift for you too. It's just that we got into a fight before I had the chance to show you. Jeffrey was stunned. His heart ached at the thought of that night. In hindsight, it was a shame that they had to end up that way. We missed out on so many opportunities to be with each other. Let's not have any more regrets. Jeffrey pounced on her, and after a while, he carried Winnie onto his lap as she straddled him. I think you should go for it first since your legs are so strong. Let's not waste your talent. I need to conserve my energy for round 2. Winnie was silent. They spent those 2 days together in the apartment. Jeffrey felt as if time had flown by when they were together, and it was time to say goodbye again. He now understood Aaron's reluctance to go on business trips and his eagerness to go home every day. His sister always complained of being sore and tired, but Winnie? Jeffrey looked at how straight she was standing with a big guitar strapped to her back. He was extremely conflicted when he watched her. He realized that he knew very little about Winnie after all, looking at how energetic she was. She could still go off to the music studio and prepare for her competition. She even had plans for playing the instrument herself when she was to sing in the next round. He realized that, in this lifetime, it would be unlikely for him to conquer her in bed unless she surrendered herself first. "Winnie, I'm leaving now. Don't tire yourself out too much," Jeffrey reminded her before he left. I'm okay." Winnie smiled at him. "You do the same. Go back and study well in school. Stop playing hooky." Bye-bye, my baby." Jeffrey bent down to kiss her on the lips before he walked out of the building to flag a cab. They parted ways. Back in the city, Jeffrey headed straight for Aaron's office. "Give me the keys to the apartment where my sister and Winnie used to stay. I need to get something." "Are you referring to this?" Aaron pulled out a CD from his drawer and handed it over to him. Jeffrey widened his eyes in disbelief and picked up the CD. It was exactly the one he was referring to. "How did you find this?" Aaron crossed his legs and chuckled. "I found it when I asked someone to clean the apartment. You really hit it well, didn't you? You're quite creative with your gifts. Too bad you didn't manage to give it away last year. Are you going to give it to her this Christmas?" "You watched it?" Jeffrey's cheeks were burning with embarrassment now. "Who said you could do that?" "Ha ha!" Aaron crossed his arms. "I thought it was a homemade music video that your sister and Winnie made together. I heard that the more innocent a girl looks on the surface, the kinkier they are in private, like your sister. I didn't expect it to be..." Aaron shuddered a little and continued. "I never took you for such a mushy, sweet guy. You always put up such an icy cold front. After all, I may have misjudged you." "Don't act as if you don't get all lovey-dovey with my sister in private." Jeffrey glared at him. "Doesn't matter how mean or cold I usually am. It's only right to save my sweet and romantic side for my girlfriend in private." "It seems like your sister doesn't have to worry about you finding a girlfriend after all. You do know the important parts." Aaron smiled knowingly. "Take it easy, though. Don't end up being a dad before you even graduate from college." Jeffrey was grinning when he heard him say that. "Why are you smiling?" Aaron was unsettled when he saw Jeffrey grinning away. "Don't tell me you've already done it? You can't be that fast." "Save it. Since I'll be telling the family sooner or later, I'll give you a heads up." Jeffrey sounded pleased with himself. "I have a daughter." An awkward silence filled the air. Aaron's eyes nearly popped out of his head. He stared at Jeffrey as if he were a madman. "Are you delusional or something?" Jeffrey sat down on the leather chair opposite him. "It's true. When we broke up last year, Winnie was already pregnant with my child. She's about 5 months old now." The office was dead silent for a while as Aaron blinked his eyes and recollected his thoughts. Finally, he said, "Are you sure about this? Although she is April's friend, you can never tell. Are you sure the kid's yours?" "Of course. The child looks just like me. It's the only proof I need." Jeffrey unlocked his phone and showed him a few photos of Jenny. Aaron looked at the photos closely. The baby in the photos was wearing a pink knitted hat. Although it was difficult to tell if it was a baby boy or a baby girl, he had to admit that the baby resembled Jeffrey. The baby even resembled Little Apple. It was hard to deny things like genetic inheritance. Aaron had mixed feelings about the whole issue. He felt as if he had just swallowed a bottle of peppers. Jeffrey was only 22 years old that year. What was he doing when he was 22? He was at the lowest point in his career and life. He was a little virgin boy who had just broken up with his girlfriend. Compare that with Jeffrey. He was at his peak at the young age of 22. Jeffrey was even a dad now when he had just joined the dad club the year before. He had a son while Jeffrey had a baby princess that he had wanted so badly. The world was so unfair. How could he lose out to a little kid like Jeffrey? He was so perfect and handsome as well. "You don't have to look so envious of me," Jeffrey said cheerily. Who said I'm jealous? Aaron scowled. It's just a baby girl. She won't be nearly as interesting as my little apple. I can squeeze and pinch him however I like. Oh, right. Does your daughter know that she has a father? What else have you done for her other than donate your sperm? It's all right. I will have plenty of chances to contribute to her future. Jeffrey was struck by his sudden remark, but he could sense that his words were spoken out of jealousy and envy. You wouldn't understand what it feels like to have a daughter as your firstborn. You might never know. I have to thank Winnie for that. I will be good to her for the rest of her life. Aaron gave him an uncommitted smile as they held each other's gaze. Jeffrey's mere presence bothered and annoyed him. Why? Are you planning to get married this year? Have you graduated yet? Not yet, but I am of legal age to marry. I must get married next year. I'll be paying a visit to my in-laws during New Year. Anyway, do you have any tips on how to butter up the in-laws? Jeffrey asked with excitement. I remember you managed to please my mom quite easily back then. Kid, you want to be like me? Aaron looked at him with his deep, soulful eyes. I was mature, down to earth, and successful. I went through all sorts of things with April. What have you done with Winnie? What have you done for her, to be exact? You donated your sperm and got her pregnant. And they had no clue of your existence the entire time. When you finally appear before them, they'll have to face the fact that you're younger than Winnie. A kid. Far from maturity and adulthood. If I were Winnie's parents, I would strangle you to death. Jeffrey kept quiet. Aaron looked at his grim expression and leaned further into his chair. His mood was somehow lifted. Are you done? You can leave with your CD then. I still have work to do. I'm on my way out, not sticking around with someone so hostile towards me. Jeffrey smirked as he stood up. Oh, right. Please don't tell my family about this yet. I don't want to shock them. I'm planning on bringing Jenny out after winning Winnie's family's approval. If my parents know about Jenny, they will most certainly be anxious to see her. I don't want them to cause too much distress to Winnie's parents. Aaron looked at him coldly and pursed his lips. When Jeffrey had finally left, Aaron stood up and ruffled his hair forcefully with his 2 hands. Did God open one door only to shut another on him? Was he not as lucky as Jeffrey to have a daughter? Because he was too perfect and outstanding. Hey, why did I bump into Jeffrey on my way in here? What's he doing here? Richard walked into the room with a grumpy expression. That brat. The more I look at him, the more annoyed I get. Look at that face. What good is it for a boy to be so handsome? He's got a pretty nasty personality, too. You're right. Aaron turned and echoed his friend's thoughts. He does get on my nerves, too. You think so, too, right? Richard sighed. He's the reason why I haven't patched up things with Jen till now. I feel like I'm about to become a monk in the temple, a vegetarian. Aaron burst into laughter. Don't insult the monks. They wouldn't read the books that you did. They have a clean state of mind. Richard fell silent. The world was full of antagonism. Some time had passed since then. In the afternoon, back in the recording studio, April picked up her phone during her break. She saw 8 missed calls from Aaron. He hadn't been so crazy for a while. April called him back almost immediately. Aaron, is it something important? Let's go on a date today. Have dinner outside? Aaron offered. April reminded him gently. I do recall you complimenting our chef on her chicken stew last night. I might have eaten too much yesterday. I feel a little sick of the food. Aaron wondered why his woman was being so dense. Wasn't it obvious that he was just looking for an excuse to go out on a date with her? I thought you don't usually enjoy eating out, and you always complain about the cleanliness of a restaurant. April sighed. Tell me the truth. What are you up to this time? I just wanted to go on a date with you. You know, enjoy our time alone together, Aaron said casually. There's a lot of bad stuff in the food outside, but let's go for some Japanese food. Fresh seafood shipped straight from the country itself. It's not too oily either. We won't run into problems with food safety, especially with all that sewage oil being used out there." April kept quiet. She sighed. He was going all out just to have a meal outside. Some time had passed since then. At 6:20, Aaron drove his Jeep over as he waited for her. When April got into the car, he pulled out a large bouquet of white roses from the back of his seat. "Babe, this is for you. And this necklace, too." "Thank you." April was stunned. He hadn't been so romantic for a long time. Why did you get this today, all of a sudden?" Aaron held her hands and said gently to her, "You've been working and looking after our child at the same time. I just feel like I should treat you well since you've been working so hard." "Hubby?" April was moved by his words, and she inched forward to kiss him on the lips. "Thank you. I love you. I like this very much." "I'm glad you're happy." Aaron was smiling as he started the car. They made their way to the restaurant. They were dining at a Japanese restaurant that they frequented in the past. The restaurant's owner was one of Aaron's friends. The food was expensive, mainly because the ingredients were freshly flown in. The food tasted good, and April didn't mind the fact that Aaron only ate at Japanese restaurants whenever they dined out. Aaron was especially sweet to her that night. He was shelling the crabs for her, passing her napkins, and pouring her water. After dinner, they went to catch a movie of April's liking at the movie theater. April was touched by his gestures, but she was not to be taken for a fool. She knew that he had other designs on his mind when he was treating her so well. It was probably because she was spending so much time with their child and work that he must have felt neglected at home. She would have to spend some time with him that night. On their way home, she gently reminded him, "I think we ran out of condoms at home." Aaron frowned. "Forget about it then, since we've run out." April was perplexed. She hadn't caught his drift yet. Aaron finally said, "Little Apple is about 1 year old now. It's all right for us to start thinking about a second child, right?" The car fell silent all of a sudden. April pursed her lips without saying a word. Her silence was making him uneasy. "Baby, if we start working at it now, we might have a beautiful baby princess by next year." "Enough, Aaron Bennett!" April interrupted him. "That's the real reason why you gave me flowers and that necklace. Am I right?" Aaron was sheepish. He was unsettled by the fact that she had called him by his full name. "Calm down, I was just putting it out there." "Have you forgotten what you told me before?" April was disappointed. "You promised me that I can decide how many kids to have and that I can continue working after being a mother. You made it all sound so grand before we got married. Look at you now. We've only just had a kid and you want me to have another? I'm not your baby machine." "I'm not taking you for a machine," Aaron explained hurriedly. "I swear, I would love a baby girl." He couldn't tell her the fact that her brother-in-law had had a baby daughter and that he was envious of him. "I know you like girls, but what if we get another boy?" April asked him. "Are you going to keep trying until we get a girl?" Other people were trying their best to have a boy carry on the family name, but it was the opposite for him. He wouldn't stop going on about having a girl, and April was at a loss for words at what to say to him. Did he consider what he had promised her before? Had he considered things from her perspective? "I won't," Aaron explained. "I don't take you for a baby machine." April rubbed her temples and grimaced. "Aaron, can you please put yourself in my shoes? I gave birth to a child before I even graduated from college. So many of my classmates went on to find a job when they graduated. While they were fighting hard for their careers, I was busy having a baby. Now that I finally have time for myself again, the world has changed drastically in just 1.5 years. My classmates who weren't doing as well as me in school are all at the peak of their careers. I'm starting from zero, and I'm finally getting back into the groove of things. How could you ask me to go home and have another baby with you? Yes, you are a man with a remarkable career. Of course it doesn't matter to you. All you need to do is donate sperm. What about me? I feel like such a failure. I have nothing going for me besides my marriage. Aaron was stunned. He could sense the frustration in her tone. He replied after a long pause. You want to do voice acting, don't you? I can pull some strings. If I don't have the experience and I still compete for those jobs, what will others think of me? April interrupted, clearly irritated. When I come back after having another baby, do you think there will still be room for me in this industry? Everyone is moving forward every single day. Don't tell me things like you have the money and you will support me for the rest of my life. I want to have a career that I can be proud of. In this day and age, the moment a woman becomes a full-time housewife, she can only rely on her man for the rest of her life. It wasn't an issue of trust. She trusted Aaron to take care of her, but a man might start to find his wife boring and dry. Who could guarantee what would happen in the future anyway? They had a lifetime ahead of them. I thought you understood me, April continued. Why must we have a second child now? Can't we talk about this a few years down the road? Is it going to be a constant thorn in your side if I don't give you a baby girl? April, don't say that. Aaron didn't expect her to object so violently. Let's forget about it if you don't want to have children now. There's no need to get so worked up, all right? Well, I had my eyes on a project a few days ago. I really liked the character and auditioned for it, but I was eliminated during the tryouts. April looked dejected. I feel so out of touch coming back to work after having a child. I need to learn everything all over again. My memory is not the same as it used to be either. I could memorize my lines after only reading them once back then. I'm really anxious about my performance. Aaron stopped the car and held her hands. You didn't tell me about this. What good would that do? It's my problem. My skills are in question here. All I can do is work harder and better myself, April said saltily. Besides, it's really tiring to be pregnant for 9 months. Sorry. Aaron thought about that day when she gave birth. Her body coiled up, her face pale, and tears were rolling down her cheeks. Come to think of it, our little apple is pretty adorable too, Aaron remarked. If you don't look at the parts down there, you can't even tell if he's a girl or boy. April kept quiet. Was he really using that to comfort himself? Hearing him say that, she felt bad for little Apple. Thank you, Aaron. April lowered her head and stared at her lap. I might have been a little stressed out recently, which is why I got a little worked up. Anyway, I don't think I'd want a second child right now. Maybe after things are stable with my career. Also, I don't want you to be so obsessed about having a daughter. Just take things easy. I promise you that we're going to have a daughter the next time I'm pregnant. Sometimes the more you want something, the less likely you're going to get it. Aaron was silent for a while. She made a lot of sense. Just like with little Apple, he was so certain that he was going to have a baby girl back then. Jeffrey, on the other hand, probably didn't even expect to be a dad, and yet he did. Forget it. There was no way he could bend the will of the gods. It would be better to just take things as they came along. What's with the silence? Are you thinking about finding another woman to have children with? April looked over at him harshly. Mr. Bennett, I'm sure you have plenty of suitors, don't you? There must be a long line of women begging to have your children, to give you a baby girl. Aaron straightened his back immediately. Have you forgotten? I still haven't recovered yet. April was stunned. She almost forgot about that since he was so energetic around her all the time. You can opt for artificial methods, in vitro fertilization maybe? April, cut it out, will you? Do you think I'm that kind of man? Aaron said grumpily. I'm going to get mad for real if you continue. April stuck out her tongue at him. She shouldn't push any more of his buttons. He did just compromise after all. It's true, my husband is so wonderful. He doesn't drink or smoke, and he comes home right after work every day to spend time with me. He doesn't go out to entertain clients or friends. I hope you keep up the good work. Aaron was pleased with all the compliments and reassurances he was receiving. Since you don't want to have more children just yet, I'll go get condoms for tonight. I should get a few extras. Sure, but I don't think we'll be using them tonight. I don't feel like it anymore. April sighed. I should work harder and read my scripts at home. She fell silent. Aaron widened his eyes as he stared at her. I disapprove. Why? Aaron stuttered. I gifted you flowers and a necklace, went to the movies, and even topped it off with a candlelit dinner. How can you deny me now? What a waste of a perfectly romantic night. Yeah, but you did all that for your darling baby princess. April was trying hard not to grin when she saw how dejected he looked. It wasn't for me, anyway. Aaron initiated his defense. Can you swear that you didn't do all this for your baby daughter? April interrupted him. Aaron shut his mouth. He didn't know how to retaliate. He hated Jeffrey, that little brat, to his core. Richard was right. Jeffrey ground his gears too. He said to April, I have a very important secret to tell you tonight. But if you're going to deny me that bit of pleasure that I've been looking forward to all day, I might as well just keep my mouth shut. April merely acknowledged him with a soft grunt. Her ambivalent attitude drove Aaron nuts. That's it? That's your reaction? Aren't you the least bit curious about the secret I have to tell you? April nodded her head. I am, but you said that you've decided not to tell me. There's no use in me asking, is there? Aaron kept quiet. After a while, he pouted his lips. Babe, you're bound to regret this one day if you don't ask me about it now. He grunted and started the car grumpily. April glanced over at him and tried to hold back her giggles. For some reason, she enjoyed watching him get all grumpy like this. She found it adorable, and it lifted her spirits. As for the secret that he wanted to tell her, she would find out about it one way or another eventually. No secret could last forever. The night ended quietly. December 24th. Winnie dropped Jeffrey a text before boarding her flight. When she got onto the plane, she switched her phone to airplane mode. She had been really exhausted as of late. Just as she was about to close her eyes and rest, a flight attendant approached her and asked, Sorry, are you Winnie? Can I get an autograph, please? I'm a big fan of you and your songs. Winnie looked up at her. It was a girl who was about her age. She gladly gave her an autograph. Before long, someone else walked over and asked for a photo together. Things only quietened down when the plane took off. Soon after, she realized that there were people around her discreetly taking photos of her. She frowned and Bob comforted her. It's like that sometimes, especially when you're famous and popular. Although you were already doing well before, it's not so common for people to remember the face of singers. You're easily recognizable now after the program you did. Winnie sighed. It was the curse of fame and sacrifices that had to be made when a person was under the spotlight. When she got off the plane, a group of fans were waiting for her at the airport. The large crowd closed in around her to ask for photos and autographs. There was an obsessive fan present as well. It took her nearly 50 minutes to get to her car after clearing customs. When she arrived at the mall where the premiere was, it was already dark. It was around dinner time and the mall was swarmed with people. It would have been impossible to navigate through the crowd without her team around. After her bodyguards had cleared a path for her, she went upstairs and entered a private suite for the cast and crew of the movie. It was specially arranged by the theater and almost everyone was already present. It was the most complete gathering since the last time they met in Venice. Winnie, it's been a while. You look a little pale, said Ben as he walked over and handed her a paper box. It's Christmas Eve. This is for you. Winnie was stunned and subconsciously looked around. Ben chuckled. Don't worry. I gave one to everyone here. It would be a lot stranger if you refused. Winnie took the box from him. When did you arrive? About 10 minutes earlier than you. I just came back and I'm really exhausted. Ben stretched lazily and looked around him. Is Maddie going to be here tonight? I don't think so. Jennifer answered him as she walked over to them with a plate of desserts in her hands. I just asked Director Woods about it. He was on the guest list, said Winnie, surprised. Jennifer smiled at her mischievously. I heard that someone made a huge fuss and asked Director Woods to scrap him. When she said that, Winnie thought about Jeffrey immediately. Director Woods was respectable, and Jeffrey was probably the only one who dared to make a fuss in front of him. Ben looked a little heartbroken. It's good that he won't be here joining us. He really has questionable ethics. I heard that you were preparing a lawsuit. How's that going? We are going to court at the beginning of the year, Winnie replied. Talking about it always made her a little stressed. Jennifer comforted her. Don't worry, you're going to win this. I heard that Kiera will be representing you. She is a really accomplished lawyer. Our company's cases are handed over to their law corporation. We hardly lose any cases. Winnie didn't realize that their company was also represented by Kiera. Perhaps it was because they were all acquainted with Aaron in some way and that naturally, their social circles overlapped. If Jennifer was being honest with her, things should turn out fine. Jennifer's gaze wandered briefly and she started smiling at someone behind her. Winnie was nervous and she turned to see Jeffrey walking through the door ever so gracefully. For the event that night, Jeffrey was wearing a brown leather jacket with denim jeans and boots. His outfit made him look exceptionally fit and dashing. He always looked proud and elegant, but he looked even more so with his outfit that night, aloof and elegant. Hey, Jeffrey, why are you so late? Leonard greeted him. There was a traffic jam? Jeffrey answered him with a low voice and headed straight towards Winnie. For some reason, Winnie was extremely nervous. She remembered what had happened at the television station the last time, so he was probably going to... She was right. Jeffrey stopped in front of her and glared at the apple she was holding. Ben had given it to her. It was as if he had not noticed Jennifer and Ben who were beside her at all. He quickly removed his jacket and wrapped it around her. With a gentle and sweet voice, he said, Baby, it's getting colder now. Why aren't you wearing much? Winnie shuddered in fear. She knew she was blushing instantly. Jennifer had goosebumps all over her. Although she already knew that the two of them were flirting with each other, they usually bickered and had good banter with one another. Jeffrey especially, with his sharp tongue and mean words. It was awkward and embarrassing to see them act that way. Ben was stunned as well. He glanced over to see Winnie's embarrassed expression and he involuntarily clenched his fist in his pockets. His body stiffened as well. Everyone else who had noticed them was looking at them strangely too. The lounge was quiet for about 10 seconds or so before the co-director, Terry, said with a curious tone, It's been a while since we all met. Did we miss out on something? Winnie felt like a fish out of water. This was even more embarrassing than that time at the television station. The two of them were always fighting even when they were in Venice. She felt extremely uncomfortable acting this way around Jeffrey now. It's just as you see it. Jeffrey wrapped his arm around Winnie's waist as he said that. He then proceeded to bend down and whisper gently into her ears. Winnie, baby, did you miss me after we parted ways last week? It was an audible whisper. Winnie's knees went jelly. She was so embarrassed that she didn't dare to make a sound. Wasn't this the man trying to act distant and cool all the time? Wasn't he embarrassed to say such cheesy things in front of everyone? Oh, so you two were together last week as well? Jennifer raised her eyebrows teasingly, grinning as she said it. Director Terry, It seems like we do have a lot to catch up on. A lot indeed, Terry replied. When did you two end up together? I thought you were mortal enemies. Are you two hiding something from us? Why? What happened? Sean asked curiously as he walked over to the group of them after chatting with the producers. People voluntarily made way for him. Zachary smiled and said, Director Woods, look, it seems like these two bickering nemesis are together now. Oh, I can't believe we were still talking about how compatible Jeffrey and Sandra were in Venice. Haha. Winnie is really the black horse here, without any warning. I seduced her, Jeffrey interrupted and looked over at Zachary with disdain. He hoped he wouldn't bring up irrelevant names at that moment. Oh, right, my bad, sorry. Zachary shut his mouth quickly. Jeffrey was infatuated with his woman. You two shouldn't behave like that. Am I right, Director Terry? Yes, of course. Terry nodded his head fervently and continued. The two of you should buy us all a meal. You've kept this from us for so long. What do you say, Director Woods? Yeah. Sean looked over at Jeffrey knowingly. Look at this guy. He was holding on to his girl so tightly. He wouldn't have been able to do that without him. Before their trip to Venice, he had to choose between Winnie and Maddie. Maddie was a senior in the industry, but he chose Winnie to go for the sake of Jeffrey. Later, during the press conference, he distracted Ben on purpose as well. Jeffrey, it wouldn't be right if you didn't buy me a meal. Jeffrey frowned. He could understand why he should buy Sean a meal, but he didn't see why he had to extend that generosity to the others as well. Apart from Jennifer, nobody else there had helped him in any way. Although they were colleagues, things were different now. He had a woman and a kid. From then on, he would only spend money on things that he should be spending on. Winnie knew that he was going to act petty when she saw his expression. She quickly interrupted him. Director Terry, you're right. We should buy everyone a meal. It's also to apologize for causing any trouble when we were bickering in Venice. We'll buy everyone supper later after the movie premiere. Winnie is really generous. Terry laughed. I was just complaining about dinner just now. Great. We'll all save some space for a sumptuous meal later. Great. I'll eat less too, said Zachary as he put down his plate. Jennifer chuckled. Congratulations. I knew from a long time ago that you two would be together. Winnie looked at her with her eyes widened. You two were so obvious. Anyone who had half a brain could sense it. Leonard smiled. What were you two doing when you crossed the Bridge of Sighs in Venice? Winnie's brain was buzzing now. She was so embarrassed that she could dig a hole in the ground and hide there. She thought that no one had seen them. You guys? We were all just pretending not to know, Zachary laughed. Jennifer told us beforehand on the boat. Jeffrey raised his eyebrows at Jennifer. Jennifer raised her glass filled with fruit juice. No need to thank me, just buy me a couple more suppers. Jeffrey said casually, I thought I bought you ice cream that day. Jennifer kept quiet. Damn, she had never met any man who was prettier than him. Everyone was laughing. Besides Winnie, only Ben had fallen silent. He turned around and started looking at the row of desserts, as if in a trance. Although he already knew a long time back that Winnie no longer had feelings for him, his heart ached to watch her with another man in front of everybody. Winnie glanced over at him from behind and let out a soft sigh. The night went on. After all the jokes and banter, Winnie walked to the other side to grab some food. Jeffrey quickly followed behind her and wrapped his arms around her from behind. In front of everybody, he said, I want some blueberries. Take more. Winnie turned her head to look at his chiseled and handsome face. She whispered, abashed, There are so many people around. Everyone's watching us. Aren't you hugging me a little too tight? Is it too tight? I don't think so. Jeffrey looked across the table lazily. Get some pasta for me. Winnie gritted her teeth. Don't you have any hands? Go get some yourself. I'm taking food for myself. Can't. My hands hurt from writing my thesis. Jeffrey answered her patronizingly. Do you think I've never written a graduate thesis before? Winnie exposed him mercilessly. Jeffrey looked at her coldly before letting out a sigh. How can I compare myself to you? You're someone who can do it with me 1,000,000 times and still get up to cook spicy chicken. You're no ordinary woman. Winnie was silent. She could no longer take it, and she stepped on his foot grumpily. Jeffrey merely grunted. He refused to let go of her. Winnie had no choice but to drag him along as she grabbed food from the table. The two of them were literally inseparable, a sight to behold. When they bumped into Sean, he couldn't help but say, Jeffrey, can you please be mindful of your surroundings? Look at you. Do you know what you look like? A spineless leech. As a director, you should preserve your image and your dignity. You used to have all of that, but you ruined it all tonight. No big deal. They'll know if I'm dignified or not when they work with me again, Jeffrey said nonchalantly. I'm only acting this way in front of my woman. We haven't seen each other in 2 weeks. You're an old man in your sunset years. You wouldn't understand what it's like to be passionately in love. When he saw Sean's mustache hairs standing up, she felt bad for him. You're really an ungrateful brat, Sean said angrily. You can do whatever you want behind these closed doors, but don't you dare announce your relationship to the public out of the blue. I won't, Jeffrey said in a serious tone. I know where to draw the line. I hope so, Sean said half-heartedly. After taking a few steps away from them, he turned and said to Winnie, Winnie, keep this fella in check, will you? Don't worry, Director Woods. Winnie quickly nodded her head like a parent getting advice. Before she could look down at the table again, Jeffrey lifted her chin with his long, slender fingers and kissed her unceremoniously on her soft, luscious lips. Winnie could hear gasps around her as she pushed him away from her with her cheeks blushing. She looked around frantically while everyone was staring at him. Jeffrey, you... Sweet. Jeffrey circled his arms around her waist again. He then said, Hand it over to me. Winnie was silent. She didn't catch his drift. The apple? Jeffrey glanced down at the apple in her pocket. This is from Ben, isn't it? Winnie was speechless. She looked over at Ben, who was having a conversation with someone while explaining. He gave one to everyone. Do you really have to be so sensitive? I didn't get one. Jeffrey extended his hand sternly. Quick, don't make me grab it myself. Winnie had no idea how to deal with him when he was acting like a petty bandit. Jeffrey quickly grabbed the apple from her pocket. The apple was bright and red, he said. Look, although this apple looks nice, you can tell there's no wax on it. It's not good for your health if you eat it. Ben is being ridiculous. The evil queen poisoned Snow White with an apple just like this. His intentions are questionable. Winnie's expression was dark. Will you quit picking on someone else? I also have an apple for you. I prepared it a long time ago, so I'll put it in my pocket. You can feel it for yourself. Jeffrey reminded her as he raised his chin. His jacket was around her now. Winnie patted his pockets, and there it was, an apple. It was a red and juicy-looking apple as well, albeit a little smaller with a ribbon bow wrapped around it.